A Course in Miracles, A Path to Truth. What if everything you believed about the world, about fear, about guilt, about separation, was simply a mistake that could be gently corrected? What if there existed a book that promised not to teach you something new, but to help you remember what you've always known? Welcome. Today we're exploring A Course in Miracles, one of the most influential and widely discussed spiritual texts of the modern era. Whether you've been studying it for decades or you're hearing about it for the very first time, this video will walk you through where it came from, what it teaches, how people apply it in their everyday lives, and how it offers a path to surrendering to something far greater than ourselves. Let's begin at the beginning. Section 1. The History and Origins. The story of A Course in Miracles starts in an unlikely place, not a monastery or a mountaintop, but the psychology department at Columbia University's College of Physicians and Surgeons in New York City. In the mid-1960s, Dr. Helen Schucman was a clinical and research psychologist working alongside her colleague, Dr. William Thetford. The two had a professional relationship marked by tension, competition, and frustration, a dynamic that was common in their high-pressure academic environment. One day in 1965, Thetford made a simple but profound declaration: there must be another way. Schucman agreed, and what followed would change both their lives forever. Shortly after that conversation, Helen began experiencing vivid inner visions and hearing what she described as an inner voice. On October 21, 1965, that voice said something unmistakable. "This is a course in miracles. Please take notes." And she did. Over the next 7 years, from 1965 to 1972, Schucman took down the material in shorthand notebooks, which Thetford then typed out. Helen described the experience not as hearing an auditory voice, but more as seeing words appear in her mind. She identified the source of the dictation as Jesus Christ, though she herself remained personally conflicted about the material throughout her life. Schucman was, by her own account, not a particularly spiritual person. She described herself as an atheist who was nonetheless unable to deny the clarity and consistency of what was coming through. The initial manuscript, known as the Urtext, contained personal references and psychological commentary that were later edited out. Dr. Kenneth Wapnick, a psychologist and scholar, joined the project in 1972 and assisted Schucman and Thetford in preparing the text for publication. The first edition was published in 1976 by the Foundation for Inner Peace. Since then, millions of copies have been distributed worldwide, and the course has been translated into dozens of languages. It has no official one church, no centralized organization, and no clergy, just students, study groups, and a quietly growing global community. Section 2. The Content and Structure. So what exactly is inside this book? A Course in Miracles is divided into 3 distinct sections, each serving a unique purpose. The text is the theoretical foundation. Spanning 31 chapters, it lays out the course's metaphysical framework, the nature of reality, the origin of fear, and the meaning of love. It draws a clear distinction between 2 thought systems: the ego, which is rooted in fear, separation, and the belief that we are isolated bodies in a hostile world, and knowledge or spirit, which recognizes that our true nature is unified, eternal, and inseparable from God. The text is dense, poetic, and written in iambic pentameter in many passages, a deliberate stylistic choice that gives it a rhythmic, almost biblical quality. The workbook for students is where theory meets practice. It contains 365 lessons, one for each day of the year. These lessons are designed to systematically retrain the mind. Early lessons challenge basic assumptions about perception. Lesson 1, for example, simply states, "Nothing I see in this room means anything." The exercises progress gradually, guiding the student from questioning habitual thought patterns to actively choosing a new way of seeing. The workbook doesn't ask you to believe anything. It asks you to practice and let your experience be the proof. The manual for teachers is written in a question-and-answer format and addresses common misunderstandings. It clarifies concepts like the nature of God, the meaning of healing, and the role of the teacher of God, which the Course makes clear is anyone who chooses to learn and share these principles. At the heart of all three sections is a single radical idea: the world as we perceive it is not reality. It is a projection of the ego, a dream of separation. And a miracle, as the Course defines it, is not a supernatural event. It is a shift in perception, a moment when we choose to see through the eyes of love instead of the eyes of fear. That shift is available to every one of us in every moment. The Course also makes an important distinction. It uses Christian terminology, God, the Holy Spirit, Jesus, the Son of God, but it explicitly states that it is not a religion. It describes itself as only one form among many thousands of a universal curriculum. It does not claim to be the only path. It simply offers itself as one way home. Section 3. Practical applications in daily life. Beautiful philosophy is one thing, but what does this look like on a Monday morning when your boss is yelling at you, your kids are fighting, and you're stuck in traffic? This is where the Course proves its real power, in the trenches of everyday life. The central practice is forgiveness, but not the kind most of us were taught. In the Course's framework, forgiveness doesn't mean gritting your teeth and saying, "I'll let it go this time." It means recognizing that the offense you perceive never truly happened at the level of reality. The other person's attack was a cry for love, born from their own fear, and your hurt was the ego's interpretation, not the true truth. When you forgive in this way, you're not being generous to the other person, you're freeing yourself. Practically, students learn to suspend judgment. We spend most of our waking lives interpreting, labeling, and reacting. The Course invites us to pause, to create what it calls a holy instant, a gap between stimulus and response where we can consciously choose peace. In that instant, we invite a higher perspective. We ask, how would love see this? The workbook lessons reinforce this daily. Students report that consistent practice changes their relationship with anxiety, anger, and resentment. Over time, the principles become less of an exercise and more of a way of being. Many practitioners find that their relationships improve, their stress decreases, and they develop a quiet inner steadiness that doesn't depend on external circumstances. These applications extend beyond the personal. Counselors, therapists, teachers, and business professionals have integrated ACIM principles into their work, often without ever mentioning the source. The idea of choosing empathy over judgment, of blessing before blaming, of seeing a colleague's difficult behavior as a reflection of their pain rather than a personal attack, these are practical tools that can transform a workplace, a family, and a life. Section 4. Surrendering to a higher power. Perhaps the most profound and the most challenging MOLWI invitation of the Course is this: you don't have to do this alone. A Course in Miracles teaches that within every mind is a guide it calls the Holy Spirit, described as the voice for God, the bridge between our limited perception and the infinite truth of what we are. The Course asks us to surrender not our autonomy, but our insistence on interpreting the world through the ego's lens of fear and control. Surrender in this context is not weakness. It is the recognition that the ego's strategies, its plans, its defenses, its constant striving, have not brought us lasting peace. And it is the willingness to step back and let a wiser perspective lead. The Course puts it simply, I need do nothing. Not because there is nothing to be done, but because the frantic doing of the ego is what keeps us trapped. Jesus, within the framework of the Course, is presented not as a distant deity to be worshipped, but as an elder brother, someone who has already walked the path and awakened fully. He serves as a model and a companion, reminding us that what he achieved is not unique to him, but available to all of us. His function is to help us remember our own wholeness. The act of surrendering to this higher power is practiced daily, in the morning when you set your intention, in the difficult conversation when you pause and ask for guidance, and at night when you release the day's grievances. Over time, students describe a deepening trust, not a blind faith, but an experiential knowing that when they step aside, something wiser steps in. Conclusion. A Course in Miracles is not a quick fix. It is not a self-help hack. It is a rigorous, beautiful, and sometimes deeply uncomfortable curriculum in unlearning everything the ego has taught us to believe. It asks us to question our most basic assumptions about who we are and what the world is for. 3. But for millions of people around the world, it has been exactly what it claims to be: a course in miracles. Small, quiet miracles. The miracle of choosing. Peace in the middle of chaos. The miracle of seeing innocence in someone you once condemned. The miracle of surrendering the need to be right and discovering, in that surrender, a freedom you didn't know was possible. If something in this video resonated with you, consider picking up the book. Start with the workbook. Practice one lesson a day. Don't try to understand it all at once, just be willing. As the course itself promises, you need not believe the ideas, you need not accept them, and you need not even welcome them. Some of them you may actively resist. None of this will matter or decrease their efficacy. The only requirement is a little willingness. Thank you for watching.